right, next up we have a question from Herbert. I thought this one was interesting. Is it okay to never own a home? What if I plan to rent and move around every year? I plan on retiring at 42 with a nest egg, with VA benefits and military pension. I feel like we get questions all the time about buying a house. So what do you think about this one, just never buying a house?
I'm going to go out and say, Herbert, is it okay? Absolutely. In my opinion, right, Brian, I'm curious if you agree with this. Your money is nothing more than a tool that allows you to do the things that you want to do. Well, for most folks, for a lot of folks, for a large percentage of the population, one of the goals that we have is to own a home. We want to own a home and start a family and spread. But just because that's quote unquote the American dream doesn't mean that's your American dream. Doesn't mean that's the thing that you necessarily have to do. So if owning a home and taking care of it and paying the utilities and cutting the grass and keeping it up, if that's not something that you derive for utility from, and you want to stay flexible and you want to be able to move around and you want to be in different locations, you don't want to be tethered to one spot, I am not of the opinion that you have to own a home in order to be financially independent, or you have to own a home to build wealth. I think in the world in which we live, it is completely possible to do that without ever having to become a homeowner.
I think, Herbert, first of all, go to moneyguy.com/resources. Download our free checklist on home purchasing. Because, and by the way, on the home purchasing checklist, it's going to ask you about your time horizon. And we typically talk about, the need to be leaning towards 7 years. But I got to tell you, in a period where interest rates are over 7% on housing, we still have record highs on, I think the real estate market's probably down a little bit, but it's still pretty close to all-time highs. This decision probably has turned more close, could even nudge up closer to 10 years. So if you kind of answered your own question, Herbert, in the fact that it sounds like you're in the military, you're relocating every few years, you're going to get a pension. That has a lot of moving parts and a lot of uncertainty that you can't set roots for 10 years. Your situation kind of lends itself to renting. Now, I do want to philosophically, because I know this will be watched by people beyond Herbert and his situation of he's moving around for his job a good bit. So it doesn't make sense to set down. But the thing I've always shared about why I love home ownership beyond the financial stuff is that it does allow a sense of community. That's why I nudged. I felt like I almost bullied Bo when they had their first child. I was like, man, y'all got to get out of the apartment and get into a home. Because I just think that knowing your personality, you're going to be stressed out with that baby crying, knowing there's two neighbors, on the sides of you, neighbors up to the north, neighbors to down below you. You got to get that baby in a house so you can cry in peace. But it is one of those things where that was the thing. But it is one of those things where it's a different situation than Herbert has. But I feel like right now we're in this weird period where we're at all-time highs with pricing. Interest rates are high. I think everybody needs to understand. I think we will revert to the norm at some point. Don't have despair. Now, Herbert's situation is he's not. It doesn't fit his life. But for those of you who are really wanting to own a home, don't let this moment freak you out. Your opportunity will come. I really do believe reversion to the norm will happen in some way. I don't know what that is, by the way. I don't have the crystal ball. I just know a lot of times in my life where I see things crazy and I just panic or I think about it, man, it's so unfair. This doesn't work. It's very humbling over time that things adjust. And that can come either through the real estate markets correct themselves. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, or it could come with interest rates adjust down lower in the future. There are enough variables that I think better days will come, so don't despair.